Good afternoon, all of my peeps out there in YouTube land, all my viewers, lurkers, all the chatters, all the people that view it on Memorex. Glad to have you with us today. It is a absolutely fantastic day here in Indiana. It's going to be hot, but hey, it beats snow, and there's a little breeze blowing. I see the leaves twitching on the trees. Fantastic day here in Indiana. We're going to enjoy this beautiful weather today, and we're going to try to get through some news. Boy, I've got a bunch of it for you today. Seems like they're all coming out of the woodwork all of a sudden, but found some interesting articles that I think you'll enjoy, or at least be amused by, or maybe educated with. I went out this morning, ran a few errands, come back, saw that I had some carrots to pull, so I pulled a few of them. I need to get out there and get some more of them today, and I'll get them cooked up. Boy, them will be good. I'm going to freeze them up and have them for this winter. When the snow's a-flying, I'll have carrots from my garden pulled out of the freezer to eat up. That'll be good. Maybe even make some of them for dinner tonight. Candy them up. Little brown sugar and butter. Woo-wee. That'll be some good eating. I love that garden. Nice to be able to look out the studio windows and look down on part of it. It goes halfway around the house, so I can see part of it from the studio. Nice to look down there at it and enjoy watching it grow. Get out there in it and stick my feet in the grass out in the yard. Breathe the fresh air. Little funny story for you here before I get started is when I went up to the bank this morning, the teller said to me, "How are you?" You know, just one of them little passing glances. And I said, well, I just slowed it down for her. I said, I am absolutely awesome, and made eye contact with her. And I said, but the big question is, how are you? And she kind of took pause on that because she didn't expect it, you know, and you could just kind of see her reflect on that. And she says, well, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So there you go. You know, I told you the other day that when you talk to somebody, you ask them how they're doing, really mean it. Really, you know, just ask them how they're doing. And they think that you just, you know, doing it in passing, say, no, really, how are you doing? And care about people. It's a good way to get change started. And speaking of change, if you want to hear a good video, I think it's good. I did it this morning over on my channel. And you can look at, if you don't have the URL for it, you can look it up. It's the Brenda Gibson channel, and I call it Frequency. They're on YouTube, and it's a video I did about change. It's only about 5 minutes long, but I think you'll enjoy it. So there you have a little bit of interesting information for you to start off the morning. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the news here today, because I got some stuff that I really think is eye-opening. The first article that I have for you is off of the Free Republic, and it is called, Who is Funding and Organizing the Race Riots? Find out here. And this article reads, once again, the rioters are looting and pillaging Ferguson, Missouri, and in Ferguson. This was posted actually last year in 2015, but it leads up to the next one that I'm gonna show you. It says, however, we don't believe the protests and riots that ensued were ever about Michael Brown. The entire movement represents a threat to our republic. Yes, you read that correctly. Those supporting, funding, supplying, and organizing the recent race riots are a clear and present danger to the Republic of the United States. If you were watching the news broadcasts about the protests in New York City, you undoubtedly saw many people carrying signs reflecting their beliefs. But wait, the people holding those signs don't look even barely capable of having printed the signs themselves, so you might wonder who the sponsor of the rally could be. Who furnished the signs? Well, on the bottom of the signs is the name of the sponsor, revcom.us. Now, that's the first article. Now, the second one I'm going to pull it up here, and then I'm going to screen share it because y'all need to see this. Let's see, get everything set up here so that I can screen share this bad boy. Well, come on, computer. There we go. And we're going to do a screen share. And we want to pull this up. And we want to make it presented to everyone. And then I'm going to get it up here so that I can read this. This is the revcom.us website. Welcome to the revolution, the voice of the revolution, Communist Party USA. These are the people that print the signs for the Black Lives Matter. It says, time to get organized for actual revolution. Message from the Central Committee of the Revolution Communist Party USA. The Revolutionary Communist Party is organizing now to overthrow this system at the soonest possible time, preparing to lead an actual revolution to bring about a radically new and better society, the new socialist republic in North America. And there's all kinds of stuff on this website that you can take a look at. I kind of scroll down through it here, but the URL for revcom.us is in the description of the video so that you can pull it up and take a look at this. And I want you to keep in mind that this is what your president is pushing. And you have to ask yourself why. I mean, if this isn't an eye-opener, I don't know what to tell you. Lord have mercy. So there's something to jolt you on this Thursday. Thursday, the 21st day of July, 2016. So with that, I will go back over here and see if I can stop the screen share so we can move on to the next article. I'll put that down and move some things around here. Okay, the next article that I have, this is off of, let's see, Washington, D.C. Patch. Black Lives Matter protesters block access to Union Station in D.C. Washington, D.C. Black Lives Matter protesters have reportedly blocked Massachusetts Avenue and access to Union Station, according to Fox 5 in D.C. An image posted to Twitter shows the protesters holding signs and standing in a line across a crosswalk. The protest coincides with an effort by Black Lives Matter activists to shut down the D.C. office of the Fraternal Order of Police. Black organizers from BPY 100 and BLM DC have shut down the legislative office of the National Fraternal Order of Police to demand that police officers invested in accountability and justice stop paying dues to the FOP, reads a statement circulating online from an unknown source. The outfit has continued to protect cops and kill and maim civilians, ensuring their continued pay and job status and shielding them from accountability. The statement pledges that the activists will continue to take to the streets over the next few days for a Freedom Now action. The Fraternal Order of Police is located a few blocks west of Union Station at 711 4th Street Northwest. And there's pictures in this article if you want to take a look at those. URLs in the description. And that leads me into the next one. This one is off of BizPac Review. Black Lives Matter, the KKK, and Westboro Baptist tangle at GOP convention. Here's how that went. Protesters from the opposing factions got into a showdown blocks away from the Republican National Convention on Tuesday. Some even fired water guns filled with urine at each other, the Cleveland police told the Blaze. Among them were members, oops, got an ad trying to play here, we got to get rid of that. Okay. Among them were members of the Westboro Baptist Church, the KKK, Black Lives Matter, and others wearing Guy Fawkes masks popular among members of the hacker group Anonymous, the Blaze reported. As the heat rose, so did the tensions, but thankfully police were able to keep the groups from tearing each other apart. So we have that one, and then that moves me to the next article. And this one has a video in it that I can't show because of all the ads and stuff, but you can look at the video if you want. It's listed in the description. Counter Current News is where this is from. It says video clearly shows unarmed man pleading with arms raised before getting shot by police. This Wednesday, local WSBN aired a cell phone video that was taken moments before caregiver Charles Kinsey was shot by North Miami police. In the video, Kinsey can be seen lying on the ground with his hands raised. He was begging police, pleading with them, and explaining that both he and the autistic man he was assisting are unarmed. That's when police opened fire. I thought it was a what is this? Oh, I thought it was a mosquito bite, and then it hit me. I had my hands in the air, and I'm thinking, I just got shot, Kinsey told WSBN. And I'm saying, sir, why did you shoot me? And his words to me were, I don't know. According to police, officers were dispatched to the scene of the shooting on Monday after getting a 911 call about a man with a gun threatening suicide. Arriving officers attempted to negotiate with two men on the scene, one of whom was later identified as suffering from autism, the North Miami police said in a statement. At some point during the on-scene negotiation, one of the responding officers discharged his weapon, striking the employee. According to WPLG, police later said the autistic man had something in his hand. In the video, Kinsey can be heard identifying the object as a toy truck. After shooting him, Kinsey says police put him in handcuffs. North Miami police say the officer who shot Kinsey has been placed on administrative leave, but have not released the officer's name or said if he will face any charges. So that's bound to bring about some problems. All right, the next article that I have is off the All News Pipeline. RNC protests heat up on day 2. Reports of bags of urine thrown, Alex Jones attacked, and riot squad sent in. Now, I read a little bit about this yesterday. It says, while mainstream media attempts to downplay the protest, which heated up on day 2 outside the Republican National Convention, others attending are reporting clashes, attacks, and protesters throwing bags of urine at police officers and or each other. Outside the convention, yesterday it was mentioned to me that there had been very little news reporting on what was happening outside the Republican National Convention, given the fact that so many groups had planned protests, and I responded, that's good news and bad news. If no reports were coming out, there was no violence. That was the good news. The bad news is that those craving attention and headlines don't get them, they will turn violent. Unfortunately, on day 2, that started happening as Pamela Geller reports that a violent crowd of protesters started lobbing bags of urine at police, and 2 to 300 police officers were attempting to handle the mayhem. While city officials denied the urine throwing, Geller's report is confirmed by a local report from KPLC 7 and one from Cleveland 19, stating activists from Black Lives Matter, Westboro Baptist Church, and the KKK were in the square and at one time were said to be throwing urine at each other. Alex Jones from InfoWars in Cleveland, as well as reports that he was attacked by communist agitators outside the Republican National Convention Tuesday while leading a protest through Cleveland's public square. While using a bullhorn to denounce and denounce the divisive politics of the left, Jones was attacked by a group carrying red flags who were ironically chanting Nazi scum. An off-duty police officer named Kevin, who witnessed the attack, explained in detail both how it began and the local police's response. there was two gentlemen from the Communist Party that came in and basically attacked Alex, he says, noting that he blocked one of the men from punching Jones as well. The morning Jones published a video. What happened is shown below, so that's in this article if you want to take a look at it. U.S. Today reports that police have received at least a dozen calls from concerned parties about a group of anarchists dressed in black and wearing masks, calling them pop-up group, and claiming they are the only disrupting force so far in the series of protest events in Cleveland. Police Chief Calvin Williams issued a warning Tuesday to an undisclosed number of loosely affiliated masked protesters who have triggered unusual anxiety among visitors and local residents with their unplanned appearance across the city. If you are a member of a group that causes you have to hide your face, then you probably need a different cause. Protests outside the Republican National Convention have been peaceful, but police have received at least a dozen calls so far related to concerns about the small groups of black-clad anarchists who often don masks during demonstrations and other protests. Following some of the calls, Williams said, officers have recovered slingshots and gas masks, both banned from the downtown event zone for duration of the convention. That has prompted concerns about the group's intentions, Williams said. If you have a different issue other than participating in peaceful protests, then we've got a problem, said the chief during a Tuesday morning briefing. The Secret Service was also forced temporarily to stop transporting lawmakers and other officials to and from events due to an angry street protest, with Fox News reporting it as a midday standoff at an intersection close to where GOP congressmen and others do interviews at TV network's makeshift studio, halting traffic and sending nearly 100 police officers to the scene. The Atlantic was on the scene and report the Revolutionary Communist Party was also there holding signs that read, "America was never great and we need to overthrow the system." Apparently those communists are also Black Lives Matter sympathizers that were spewing anti-police rhetoric as well. As a side note, although it isn't Cleveland RNC related, it's good to see that some citizens fighting back against the all anti-police sentiment across the country, as evidenced by the billboard in Indiana that said, "Hey cops, the next time you need help, call a crackhead." Unfortunately, it seems free speech only counts for those hating on cops, since that particular message was removed from the rotation. Interestingly enough, it is a Yahoo Finance report titled "Cleveland Protests Turn Violent as Trump Receives GOP Nomination" in the very last segment of their report that offers a glimpse of what the MSM isn't reporting. As the states were finalizing the selection of Trump, an Ohio State Highway Patrol officer stood guard at one of the many doors to the Quicken Loans Arena, listening to the radio reports of what was going on out in the streets. "Protesters are moving up 9th Street, he said to a reporter. "They've got injuries. They sent in the riot squad." Other reports indicate there were a handful of arrests, and law enforcement was offering much leeway towards protesters and have also confiscated items that have been banned from the event zone. On day one, it was Rudy Giuliani that brought down the House with a speech that generated much enthusiasm. But on day two, Donald Trump was officially named the Republican nominee for president, and it was his son, Donald Trump Jr., that generated most excitement with his speech about his father. Key quote was, "For my father, impossible is just a starting point." And let's see here. I think that's about the end of it. There's a couple videos associated with it if you want to take a look at those. So that is in the description. And the next article that I have is off of CNN Politics. And this one is about Ted Cruz. And I got two articles on this. So this is the first one. Defiant Ted Cruz stands by refusal to endorse Trump after being booed during a convention speech. And there's a video associated with this, if you want to take a look at that. And Cleveland Cleveland from CNN. Ted Cruz on Thursday strongly defended his refusal to endorse Donald Trump during his Republican National Convention speech, saying he's not in the habit of backing politicians who attack his family. I'm not in the habit of supporting people who attack my wife and attack my father, Cruz said in a morning meeting where he faced sharp questions from the Texas delegation in Cleveland. The Texas senator sensationally withheld endorsement of Trump in his speech Wednesday, earning a chorus of boos from the floor while getting upstaged in a power play by the GOP nominee himself. In a dramatic development, as Cruz wrapped up his speech, Trump suddenly appeared in the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland. He walked to join his family in a VIP area and flashed a thumbs up, a gesture that transmitted clear anger at the Texas senator's behavior. Cruz, his party's runner-up, uttered Trump's name just once to congratulate him and instead pitched the ideological brand of conservatism that endears him to the GOP base. I congratulate Donald Trump on winning the nomination last night, Cruz said, and like each of you, I want to see the principles that our party believes prevail in November. But it was clear Cruz was going to end his speech without endorsing Trump. Delegates began to boo, and some chanted, "We want Trump." Don't stay home in November, Cruz said toward the end of his otherwise very well-received speech. Stand and speak and vote your conscience. As delegates began to protest, Senator Cruz's wife, Heidi Cruz, was heckled by Trump supporters shouting Goldman Sachs and escorted out by security. Heidi Cruz, who is an employee of Goldman Sachs, declined to answer questions from reporters, saying, "I don't talk to media, thanks." The stunning political theater between the top two contenders in the Republican primary race blew open divisions in the party that the convention is designed to heal, and suggested Cruz believes Trump will lose in November. Cruz's appearance at the Cleveland convention had been the subject of intense anticipation over his attitude toward Trump after their intensely personal exchanges in the late stages of the primary race. He got a prolonged standing ovation as he walked on stage for a speech that appeared to be an attempt to establish himself as the guardian of conservative values that some activists doubt Trump shares. Cruz's rebuke ignited a hot scene around the senator as soon as he left the stage. People averted their eyes from Cruz and his wife as they walked with their security detail on the skybox level of the boisterous Republicans. On the donor suite level, people approached Cruz and insulted him, a source told CNN's Dana Bash. One state party chairman reacted so angrily that he had to be restrained. Cruz, who has long sought the support of GOP megadonor Sheldon Adelson, was turned away when he tried to enter Adelson's suite. Andy Aboud, a senior aide to the Las Vegas casino magnate, said Cruz was initially invited to come up to visit the Adelsons, but when he failed to endorse Trump, the invitation was rescinded. When he didn't endorse, they were stunned and disappointed, Aboud told CNN. We could not allow Ted Cruz to use the Adelsons as a prop against Donald Trump, he added. The Adelsons support Donald Trump and made that clear. They like Ted Cruz, but there was no way the Adelsons were going to be the first stop after not endorsing. That would be disrespectful to our nominee. Trump did stop by the suite, and Aboud tweeted out a picture of Trump with Sheldon and Dr. Miriam Adelson. And that picture is included in the article if you want to see it. Trump, whose insults of Cruz were a constant on the campaign trail over the past year, tweeted that Cruz didn't honor the pledge GOP candidates had signed to back the eventual Republican nominee. Wow, Ted Cruz got booed off the stage, didn't honor the pledge. I saw his speech 2 hours early, but let him speak anyway, no big deal, is the quote. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, a former presidential candidate and now Trump backer, blasts Cruz's speech in an interview with Bash. I think it was awful, Christie said, and quite frankly, I think it was something selfish. and he signed a pledge, and it's his job to keep his word. Trump lawyer Michael Cohen said on CNN, the only way to describe it is political suicide. A source close to Cruz said the senator wasn't shocked by the mood after the speech. He expected people not to approve, the source said, not surprised at the reaction. Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who accepted the nomination as Trump's vice presidential nominee at the end of Wednesday's session, sidestepped when asked about Cruz's speech. I'm just grateful for all the support we are receiving, and I'm excited about the future, Pence said. Eric Trump's reaction. The audience didn't seem to like it, right? Asked about the impact of the non-endorsement, Eric Trump responded, I don't think it makes any difference in the world. Hillary Clinton's campaign seized on Cruz's speech as well, tweeting, vote your conscience, with a link to her website. And this article goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to read it, it's there, because I got another one on the same subject here. So we'll get that one down. We'll pull this other one up. Okay, this one is out the Washington Post, and it says the Daily 202. Cruz's convention gambit backfiring badly, and now he's on the defensive. Ted Cruz is on the defensive after he gambled his political career on refusing to endorse Donald Trump, with key allies turning on him and members of his home state delegation questioning motives. After his dramatic primetime speech here last night to the Republican convention, after which he left the stage to loud boos and was then refused entry into angry Sheldon Adelson's suite, the runner-up for the nomination came under friendly fire during a surreal Texas delegation breakfast. As some chanted Trump, 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 Cruz argued that the less courageous route would have been to skip the convention. He said he called Trump 3 days ago to say he wouldn't endorse him. Why not? Someone yelled from the crowd. I'm happy to answer that, but I won't engage in a screaming fight, the senator replied. In that speech last night, I did not say a single negative word about Donald Trump, Cruz insisted. Speaking carefully, this morning and going forward, I don't intend to say negative things about Trump. The media would love me to. I started the speech by congratulating Donald Trump for winning the nomination by name. In that speech last night, I asked conservatives not to stay home in November. Then he pointed out his non-endorsement as proof of his anti-establishment bona fide, and he said it was dismaying that some Trump supporters booed him as he talked about the Constitution. This isn't just a team sport. We don't just put on red jerseys and blue jerseys, he said. It's about principles and standing for what I believe in. Asked if he'd vote for Trump, Cruz was non-committal, but did say that he will not vote for Hillary Clinton. He asked the Texans not to write in his name on the ballot. I'm watching, I'm listening. The standard I intend to apply is which candidate I trust to defend the Constitution, he said. I'm going to be listening to Donald Trump's speech tonight. I'm going to be listening to how he and the campaign conduct themselves every day between now and November. Echoing his key line from last night, he added, every one of us has to follow our conscience. Another Texan asked him how he could go back on his pledge made during a Fox News debate last summer in the very arena where he delivered his speech last night to support whomever wins the GOP nomination. Cruz said Trump abrogated the pledge with his personal attacks on his wife's looks and by suggesting that his dad was somehow involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I'm not in the habit of supporting people who attack my wife and my father, he said, and that pledge was not a blanket commit that if you go and slander and attack Heidi, that I'm going to come like a servile puppy dog and say thank you very much for maligning my wife and maligning my father. Cruz, who fancies himself a political tactician, is playing the long game. He wants to run for president in 2020, and he thinks holding out strengthens his brand as conservative purist. He might even try to primary a President Trump from the right. And that article goes on as well, and I won't read the whole thing, but you get the gist of it. So, there's the Donald Trump and Ted Cruz battle. Battles seem to be everywhere, don't they? Okay, the next one here, this is off the Cleveland.com. Cleveland RNC protesters visited by federal agents from the Elyria police. Elyria is a, well, not really even a suburb. It's a town south of Cleveland. And Cleveland, Ohio, the Cleveland FBI on Wednesday, along with Elyria Police and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, visited a Lorain County house where several protesters were staying in order to talk to them about their tactics outside the Republican National Convention. The visit sparked outrage from a local group monitoring the protest. As it said, law enforcement entered the house, guns drawn, in an attempt to intimidate the protesters. FBI spokeswoman Vicki Anderson said the law enforcement went to the house Wednesday morning because those inside were suspected of causing issues this week in a public square in downtown Cleveland. Namely, agents believed the group threw bottles of urine at police officers, Anderson said. The spokesman for Elyria Police also confirmed that its officers joined the FBI at the Lake Avenue house shortly after 7:40 a.m. He did not have any further details. Anderson said discussion agents had happened outside the house. She said agents did not have guns in the protesters' faces and did not go inside. Nobody was arrested. The website Countercurrent News posted an 18-minute video on its website that appears to show the encounter from outside the house. Another video posted on YouTube, which appeared to be edited at points, gives view of what happened inside. You can watch the video from what happened inside the house above on this URL, if you so choose. In the video, law enforcement that appears to be from Elyria Police and Homeland Security step inside the front of the house and order a man out. One officer appears to go upstairs. Police officers announce themselves and at one point draw their weapons. A law enforcement officer can be heard yelling at one person, "Get out of the bed. I'm not going to tell you again, or I'm going to come get you out of the bed. Come on, you know what's going on. Get out of here." Once outside, FBI agents and police are seen on the porch and the lawn talking to people staying in the house and asking if they plan to attend any future protest rallies. They told the men in the video that others staying in the house had thrown bottles of urine at officers. In one of the videos, one man said he woke up to police in his house with a gun in his face. Another said he told the officers several times that he did not give them permission to enter. There is also mention of police not having a warrant. The Ohio National Lawyers Guild, a progressive legal activism organization that is monitoring the RNC, said the visit appears to have been done without a warrant. This is a problem because those inside did not give consent to search them or the house, Guild leader Jacqueline Green said. The Ohio NLG condemns warrantless raids without consent as unlawful police conduct, Green said in an interview Wednesday evening, adding that her organization has not spoken to the people in the video. She said that it seems like the visit were for the purpose of intimidation and that any search, if it happened, would have been unlawful. The men in the video told agents they were from out of town and don't know everyone else who is staying there, and said they don't support violence. Upon leaving, the agents told the men to be safe. One agent apologized for scaring them. Anderson said the agents never told anyone at the house not to protest at the convention. She would not confirm whether agents have visited other protest groups, but said there have been a couple of things that we have had to run down. She said it has all been done to try to keep the protests and the convention safe. They are welcome to protest, but it needs to be peaceful, Anderson said, but not throwing bottles of urine at law enforcement. In late June, FBI and local police visited the homes of over a dozen local activists to ask them about their plans for the GOP convention. The FBI characterized the visits as community outreach. The National Lawyers Guilds and other local activists said the visits were an effort to intimidate them. So there you have that one. I find that a very dangerous precedent myself. I mean, Should you decide that you're going to protest or be in a rally or anything of that nature, and the police decide they're just going to come in your house without a warrant to search you and search your property? Wow. Sounds to me like KGB. Okay, well, we'll go to the next article. This is on economics. And this one is off of My Budget 360. And the article reads, Gallup Economic Confidence Index plunges while stock market nears, tongue-tied. Gallup Economic Confidence Index plunges while stock market near record. Stock market decoupled from financial well-being of average Americans. And this article goes on. Gallup releases an economic confidence index which should reflect overall sentiment of America as it pertains to the economy, with the stock market near record highs and the housing, and it says bubble, and that's marked out and says market soaring. You would expect average Americans to be smiling from ear to ear with glee. But when you click on over to Gallup, the chart looks downright gloomy, like finding out you just failed a midterm exam you studied so hard for. While Gallup may be stumped and scratching their head as to why this divergence is there, I feel we have touched upon a few points as to why this is occurring. First, half of the Americans don't even own one stock. Next, you have many U.S. companies making large profits abroad. Good for the company, but that doesn't translate necessarily into a better financial position for most Americans. Housing values being inflated only keeps Americans from buying, as reflected in a generationally low home ownership rate. In other words, crony capitalism is working as it should. People understand that something is rotten in Denmark. The Gallup Economic Confidence Index looks like it is taking a similar trip to Enron stock. People are just not happy with the economy. People don't pay the bills with the stock market. And while half of the nation is playing Pokemon Go and then going on Facebook to enjoy the latest celebrity gossip, a large part of America is wondering why they are flat broke. Rome had its version of distracting the public, and it's involved feeding gladiators to wild animals. Today, we throw cute balls to virtual fuzzy animals. And there's a chart in this, and the article goes on, but you get the basic gist on this. I mean, holy smoke. The bubble's about to break, and it's just a matter of time. I hope everybody is cushioning themselves accordingly. So we'll put that one down. We'll pull up this next one. This one is from 21st Century Wire, and it reads, Syria. Beheading of Palestinian child prompts U.S. to disassociate from its proxy psychopaths. And says, horrifying scenes of a very young Palestinian boy by the U.S. and UK-backed terrorist factions in Syria, Noor al-Din al-Zinki, flooded social media feeds yesterday. The U.S. is scrambling to both disassociate themselves and their proxy murderers from this abhorrent crime. 21 Wire will not post the videos in this report below, as they may be too distressing, but they are they are able in the link to the art, or they are available in the link to the article. We stress that footage is graphic and horrific. Harak Noor al-Din al-Zinki is an Islamist rebel group in Syria formed late 2011 during the Syrian civil war. Named for Emir of Aleppo, Nur ad-Din, The movement was formed in Aleppo to fight against the Syrian Arab army, and it joined the army of Musdin or Mujahideen in the war against the Islamic State. The United States supplied the group with money and BGM-71 TOW anti-tank missiles during its war against ISIS and the government. In December 2014, it joined Levant Front and also the French Halib Operations Room. The child was accused of fighting for al-Qaeda's brigade and a pro-Syrian government group of Palestinian resistance fighting alongside the SAA in Syria. This despite the boy being as young as 11 years old, according to some reports. The child, who is ostensibly under the age of 12, was arrested by Islamist militants fighting for the Turkish-backed Nur al-Din al-Zinki movement for allegedly being a fighter of the Palestinian Lawa al-Quds brigade. Lawa al-Quds is a pro-government Palestinian parliamentary faction made up of the Palestinians who have been driven out of their homes in the Hadarant camp once Islamist militants took over the neighborhood. Today, the group is fighting alongside the Syrian army to retake the camp. And that's off the Al-Masdar News. And the article goes on, but you get the gist of it. And if you want to read the rest, you're welcome to. I mean, this is just shocking, absolutely shocking. I really don't see how people can live with themselves when they're doing such horrific injustices. It's just horrible, absolutely horrible. The next article is off of the Common Sense Show, Dave Hodges. And this one is: the globalists have prepared to enslave you. Have you prepared to survive? Trump and the independent media have brought millions of new people to the battleground of the fight that can be labeled as the people versus the globalists. The globalist intention is to destroy the sovereignty of every major nation along with their culture, economy, and military. One person recently wrote to me that said he could see the freight train coming in America's direction. I wrote back and asked him, which freight train? One thing for sure, there isn't just one freight train coming our way. There's an army of freight trains, all of which will run over America while taking no prisoners. Are you prepared? If you are new to this movement, you might be asking, what are the dangers and how do I prepare? Among the many topics that I'm going to cover in this series, I'm going to bring the reader the message of how people and their families will be lured to FEMA camps by the millions. In future articles, I will be covering all the tricks that will be used against the people to accomplish this goal. How do I know these things? The government has already practiced. So we don't only know what the establishment is going to do, we also know how they're going to do it. Some of the dangers include the imminent economic collapse, the developing and contrived race war in America, the illegal immigration resulting in ISIS attacks. Even the FBI admits they're present in all 50 states. Contrived and pre-planned food and water shortages, and World War III, just to name a few of the many freight trains coming in our direction. In the last 2 days, I received 6 emails with impassioned pleas for assistance in getting and how to get ready to survive what is coming. In an interview I did with Steve Quayle, he recently said, what we used to say is coming is not longer coming, it's here. Steve is correct, and I am stunned in the rapidity of the decline and the exponentially increased dangers that we all face. Many of my emails reflect the same sense of impending doom, and people want to know how to survive. Here's an example of a recent communication that was sent to me yesterday. Dear Mr. Hodges, I'm new to all this. I've been reading your articles and listening to your show for the past 6 months or so. I know you and most of your Yes, are correct. Trump by himself cannot make America great again, and it's going to take most of us fighting for the same things. I also know that we are going to have bloodshed in this country like we have not seen since the Civil War in the 1860s. Here's my problem. I'm a single father of two boys, ages 11 and 15. My wife died of cancer 2 years ago. We lost half of our income when my wife died. It takes money to prepare, and even if I had money, I don't know what to do to increase our chances of survival. Can you please point me in the right direction? I know we are near the end, and I do not have much time. Please help. Please do more shows on preparation. Thanks, Richard. To Richard and the several people who have written to me and the silent majority who are wondering the same, I offer the following suggestions along with hints on where you can go to begin to meet these needs. Please feel free to use who you want to help you and your family to get ready for America's Day of Reckoning. However, if you are not prepared, I have some suggestions on where to go to get needed survival supplies. And uh, let's see, it says China's announcement that it's putting nuclear submarines off the West Coast should be shockwaves across America as to the potential for World War III just exponentially increased as a result of this action. Are you ready for World War III when World War III breaks out? We want to avoid being Venezuela. As we see rioting in the streets in Venezuela over the food lines, the Baltic Dry Index, which is the measure of world trade, is now down to another new record low, which is nearly 50% down from a year ago, and that is almost 40% down from just so far this year. Subsequently, the food lines in Venezuela are a sight to behold, and remember that according to FEMA, we are 9 meals away as a nation from repeating the same exact thing here in America. Are you ready? The people of Venezuela were not ready. Most cannot even get out of the country in their effort to find food. Their country is in total chaos. I believe Venezuela is beta test for the West. It is coming here, and again, will you be ready? As Donald Trump helps to wipe the cognitive dissonance from our collective eyes, here is a shopping list of what we must individually obtain in order to increase our chances of survival. At the end of the day, Trump cannot save you. Clinton can only destroy you, and it all comes down to what you can do and are willing to do to save you and your family. Here's a list of 17 things that are essential to survival. I recently updated the list and adjusted it. Number 1, create a fake identity. It may be necessary to become invisible in the event you think you believe that your name could be on a red list, because roundups will usually occur in dire situations. Therefore, the creation of pseudo identity could become very important. Number 2, it takes money to prepare. I've committed much effort, time, and resources illustrating how a coming economic collapse is unavoidable and how the elite have conspired to steal as many of your assets as possible prior to the collapse. There are some common sense things one can do which could increase the chances of surviving a major social meltdown resulting in an economic collapse. If you have any doubts as to what is coming, I strongly encourage you to read what I've written about on this topic over the past several months. Ray Charles could see that our economy will not be around much longer in its present form. You can read these stories here, and here. All of those are links, so you can go into the article and click on them. It says, if you have read the articles at the above links, you should have concluded that it is the height of stupidity to leave your life savings in an institution that is planning to steal from you. You need to divert your cash, other than the ability to pay basic bills, and preparations for what is coming. Getting your money out of the bank has become an art form, and you need to be careful. In a future article, I will be revealing steps you can take in order to secure your money from the institutions that are presently holding you hostage. I cannot promise you that you will be able to retrieve all of your assets. However, I can promise you that if you do not act, you will lose everything and you will lack needed supplies to weather what is coming. I would strongly suggest that you keep your gas tank filled and you have plenty of cash, food, and ammunition on hand. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you are like Richard and have limited resources, budget your money to cover water, food, guns, and ammunition in that order. That's water, food, guns, and ammunition. If you or your family has chronic health condition, you will have to include this to your list of essentials. Number 3, make a list and check it twice. Buy a good prepper book. Holly Dio is an excellent source for this information on www.standeo, that's STANDEYO.com. In the interim, procure your food, water, guns, ammo, and home security adjustments. If you do not have a big dog, consider obtaining a pair. These animals will be your companion, home security system, and an ally if someone attempts to breach your home with bad intent. Of course, you will have to store dog food as well. Sit down and construct a list of what you will have to complete. Sit down and construct a list of what you will make a complete list after reading a good prepper book. Make all of your purchases in cash. You do not want the wrong person or wrong people to know what you're up to. Number 4, rural versus urban. We have to live our lives today, and it may not be possible to move to a rural area because of your job. However, one survivalist that I was speaking with estimates that the rate of survival for a country in economic chaos would be 10 times higher for rural residents as opposed to urban residents. Consider buying a place in an isolated area and commuting to work in the interim. Realize that if society fragments, the military has been trained to isolate cities and let us fight it out for our resources before making us move on. If you live in a rural area, your danger will be the 2 carloads of hooligans that manage to get out of the city and will be coming to your farm for their meals. This places your entire family at risk. If you live in a rural area, you better have Minutemen allies ready at a moment's notice to help you. Number 5, pay off your mortgage. If you have a CD, 401k, any other long-term investment, you might want to consider taking the penalty and executing a withdrawal and apply what's left to the principal, usually about 50% of the original value, and paying down your major debts. The key word here is consider, because nobody can accurately predict the time frames of these kinds of events. One has to judiciously decide for themselves what is best course of action. After an economic collapse, you most likely will have a job, or you most likely will not have a job, and your retirement and savings will likely be wiped out and confiscated. That is why it would be wise to pay down your debt while you can afford to do so, because after the collapse there will still be foreclosures and repossessions, and if you and your family survive, you could be on the streets if you cannot pay your bills. Number 6, buy gold and silver while you can afford it. Goldman Sachs has been shorting gold. By his actions, George Soros has been telling you to get out of the markets. Cash and the American banks, Soros and the rest of the criminal elite have been hoarding gold, as have the BRICS, B-R-I-C-S. These entities are telling you by action what medium of exchange is going to be of value following the collapse that is coming. Storing gold and silver is an economic survival strategy which will pay dividends after the smoke begins to clear in the post-collapse era. The following is who I use, and there is a link there to Renaissance Precious Metals. Number 7, practice austerity before the banks impose austerity on you. It is critical to immediately eliminate all necessary expenses. Give yourself some operating capital. You may be able to purchase a bug-out residence in a rural area, or you will certainly be able to afford more survival gear. In order to increase your immediate cash flow, start an at-home business. Start a business which has virtually no upfront and startup costs. Even if you are not able to generate much income, you will create legal tax evasion strategy in which you can legally deduct many of your present activities and expenses, such as mileage, the purchase of any office supply, etc., including survival gear. With regard to storing food, you need to do so immediately. I recommend storing 2 years worth of food. However, you need to master the art of growing food inside your home. There are plenty of resources which can teach you how to do that. However, you would be wise if you would create a hiding place in which you can store food and water safely in a hidden location. If you are ever robbed, you will not have exhausted your food supplies. You are most likely to be robbed by FEMA or one of their mercenary groups during the beginning of the crisis, because food and water will be used as weapons to control you. I am personally aware of FEMA going to selected homeowners in order to track a family's reserve food and water supplies. Remember, water is sunlight and temperature sensitive. There are plenty of prepper manuals that you can consult for instructions on how to meet those needs. The biggest threat to survival is death due to dehydration and starving to death. Contaminated water will also pose a threat. There are plenty of places to purchase large drums and obtain water tablets for water purification purposes. Obtain a pair of water filters in case you have to go mobile to survive. Finally, learn to grow your own food within your residence. Your garden will likely be raided by humans and hungry animals alike. There are plenty of prepper manuals which can teach you how to accomplish this task. Number 9, personal supplies. Of course, you will need toothpaste, toiletries, eating utensils, etc. For a complete list of personal items, see Steve Quayle's list on his website. Number 10, stockpile medicines and medical supplies. If you or your family has chronic health condition, it's critical that you have 6 months to a year in medicine. Also, you should research natural alternatives to treatment for health conditions in case you are not able to meet this goal due to the inability to obtain prescriptions. Don't forget to obtain some pain medication and antibiotics in case of unforeseen emergencies. Make a trip to Mexico and sneak across medication in old pill bottles in order to escape detention by the Border Patrol, who will ask you if you obtain medication in Mexico when you come back across the border. If you can safely ration your existing medication doses, do so and store the excess. Make sure you also have a first aid kit. Make a first aid take a first aid class, including CPR, at your local fire station. Do not forget your hygiene supplies. Some are thinking that this is a lot of work. My response would be, how bad do you want you and your family to survive? If you choose to use nature's medicine, which are easier to stockpile, this is who I use. And there is a link there to Dr. Ted and Sharon Broer's Health Masters. And that's called healthmasters.com. Number 11, guns and ammunition. Regardless of your moral convictions, ask yourself if you want your family to survive. Buy your guns off the books from private parties and at gun shows. Keep guns for show and guns for go. In other words, have a safe location that you can bury guns so that when gun confiscation begins, you will not be left totally defenseless. America needs to not only create safe and secure homes, but to create as many Warsaw ghettos as possible. Look it up. We need to make ourselves a hard country to conquer and occupy. We cannot stop a treasonous leader from handing off our country to some foreign entity, such as the UN. However, occupation of America should be problematic for the blue helmet-wearing Russians, Chinese, and other proxy forces training on our soil to occupy us. It is recommended that you have 3 types of weapons. Number 1 is pistols for close-in fighting. Number 2 is shotguns for defense of entrance to your home. And number 3, a rifle with scope in order to fight back against long-range snipers that do not want to storm your home because you appear to be prepared. Immediately obtain weapons instruction for you and your family. Firearms training and then practice. Conduct mock raids on your residence so that you can see your vulnerabilities. An armed populace makes a people more feared by an abusive government. If I had not gun training at all, I would opt for a shotgun with regard to home defense. Do not forget about gas masks for each member of your family and make sure to store extras. If you have the means to obtain body armor, do so now, because Congress is preparing to outlaw the private use of body armor. Number 12, obtain night vision equipment. If your family is located in a fixed location, the challenges of defending your property go up exponentially at night because you cannot see where the threat is coming from. Night vision equipment is not cheap, but your family is literally defenseless without it after the sun goes down. Prepare to survive in the raw elements and build a new culture for your family. It is possible that you can learn to survive in the raw elements without heating and central air conditioning. You may not have lights. Obtain flashlights, mini batteries, and hard to crank obtain flashlights, mini batteries, and a hand crank radio. Make sure you have clothes befitting all weather that you may encounter, because a crisis that begins in January may not be over by August. Take a weekend and pretend the grid is down. This will allow you to see firsthand what supplies you will need. When should you perform this drill? There is no time like the present. Also, take a camping weekend where you simulate having to bug out. To people with generators, congratulations on your foresight. However, if you are the only house on the block with lights, how long do you think it will be until you have unwanted visitors with bad intent? Don't forget about procuring non-electric forms of entertainment. This should include board games and educational materials for your children. You will want to establish some normalcy for the sake of your children. You are preparing to adopt a new way of life. Make the new life worth living. I would also recommend that every personal library contain the Constitution of the United States. After the chaos subsides, we will need to rebuild. You will not want to live in a might make right society. Number 14, prepare yourself physically. If you are on the run, you may have to travel up to 20 miles per day. Get in shape, begin to walk, jog, run. The better shape you are in, the better. Take self-defense classes. Many of these classes are offered free of charge at churches and community centers. Practice shooting on a regular basis. If you can't afford it, take gun safety and shooting lessons. If you can afford it, take gun safety and shooting lessons. Number 15, do not tell anyone. If your 4 adjacent neighbors, broach the topic of preparedness, gauge the situation, and then make an informed decision. If your neighbors are on board with prepping, that will help you form a decisive perimeter and a mutual alliance pact. Otherwise, tell nobody of your preparation plans. Do not tell your friends, family members, and coworkers. Make your preparations in cash or cashier's check as much as possible. Limit the paper trail to you. You do not want the government to know that you are prepared, because you could be the first one on your block that is visited at 3 a.m. You and your mate should prepare in stealth. Kids talk, and so do their friends. Once you have your allies established, begin to trade and barter, because the existing system may not be available for much longer. Number 16, you need to become the neighborhood nut, because there is safety. Never offer what you are doing to prepare or how far along you are with your preparations. However, you will need allies, because you cannot guard your property 24/7, 365. So how do you recruit neighbors to become your allies without telling them what you are up to? Simple. With each neighbor that is convinced and understands what is at stake, you should feign ignorance and act as if you and your neighbor are learning prepping together. Teach your awake neighbor how to prepare. You will need allies to help protect your family and resources, and it's not likely that you can do this alone. Number 17, prepare yourself spiritually and be sure to pray. Survival is never guaranteed. Salvation is. So do not forget one of your most important resources, your Bible. Conclusion. There is a time to stop talking and start doing. That time would be now. The economy is going to collapse. The only question is when. Of course, if you fail to prepare, the administration will be happy to lend you a helping hand. On March 27, 2015, under the auspices of DHS, Special Operations Forces practiced political dissent extraction drills in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the writer says, I took this as personal declaration of war against the American people. And it says this image should motivate you to prepare. And there is an image there that you probably need to take a look at in that article. It says, may good fortune and God's blessings follow with regard to what is coming. Please prepare while you still have the time. The establishment has practiced the art of rendering you to be helpless and what they are going to do with you. Shouldn't you prepare for the same thing? So that is a very, very, very enlightening article. And I do have one more. I know I'm running a little over today, so bear with me. This one is off of worldtruth.tv. And it says, Putin to ban Pokemon Go from Russia due to links to the CIA. Now, I have purposely stayed away from the Pokemon Go deal that's been going on because I find it just absolutely ridiculous that people are falling into this little trap. It's GPS orchestrated by the government at its finest. And if you're playing this stupid thing, not only are you endangering yourself and everyone around you while you're staring at the screen instead of the road when you're driving or sidewalk when you're walking, bumping into people or walking out into the street, or there's been people that fell off of cliffs the other day, killing themselves over this silly thing. I mean, seriously, are you kidding me? So, I mean, even the Russians know that the CIA is running this thing to gather information, and they got the American people running around with GPS units in their cell phones, tracking everything, showing you everything. The inside of your home, the inside of businesses, the inside of military installations. I mean, you know, what better way to get information than to have a bunch of silly people that don't have anything better to do, play some silly game on their electronics and provide information. So if you want to read that article, there it is, and you're welcome to look it up and read the thing for yourself. But I mean, seriously, you know, if you're involved in that, think about what you're doing. There is surely to goodness something that is more constructive that you could spend your time with. So with that, I think I'm going to call it a day. Just, you know, be kind to people that you meet. Try to overlook whatever shortcomings they have because you're not perfect either. Don't cast blame. If you point your finger at somebody, remember you got 4 pointing back at yourself. Try to be forgiving. And do that even if you can't forget. Because sometimes things happen to us, we can't forget, but goodness gracious, you can forgive and move on. So that's something for you to tuck away today and go out, stick your feet in the grass, take a breath of fresh air, enjoy the weather, enjoy the summer. And with all that, we'll come back tomorrow on Friday, and Lord only knows what I'll have for you then. Have a nice day. Bye.